and put this down like this. And hopefully this stays in front of this window when I go like this. Oh, it didn't. Oh, there's this theater mode. Hold on. Put this in theater mode. Switch this back like this. Look at that. Okay, slowly I'm learning all the stuff. All right. So folks, if you haven't watched the first VOD, you may want to check that out. It's on the frontier of AI or something. And we're going to continue to hear what these guys have to say, trying to figure out if you should just give up on coding. Don't do that. Stay coding, please. Coding's amazing. And the truth is, I think that we're going to need coders more now than ever. And a lot of that has to do with the way these AI systems work and how they're helping a lot of non-coders be able to rapidly prototype software systems, which is fantastic. But after they move past the prototypical phase, and keep in mind, building a prototype system versus building like a real industrial strength software system, these are two completely different worlds. It's not even close to the same. And so rapidly prototyping stuff in some ways is pretty easy. Or easy for those of us that can code. But for people that don't know how to code, this can feel overwhelmingly hard and stuff. But now with our AI tools, they can do this, right? And that's great. That's awesome. So they can explore a whole bunch of ideas and then try to find market traction and, you know, all the things. But once they get a certain amount of buy-in from the market, like people are starting to use this and it has demonstrated some value and viability, then moving these systems from being prototypical to things that can work in the real world, they're likely going to need a bunch of software developers. And the future that I see is the 99% of the world that can't code is going to use vibe coding tools to... Hey, Kevin. Hello from Brazil. Yeah, love Brazil. I've only been there once, but spent like 2 weeks down in like Rio, and gorgeous place. Amazing beaches. Super jealous. The beaches in NorCal are... You've got us beat. hands down. Anyway, so the future that I see is the vibe coding tools are fantastic for allowing the 99% of the world that can't code be able to rapidly create software, which is fantastic because there's so much genius that's these, you know, it's 99% of the world. We're talking about what is this number? It's like 7.9 billion people that can't create software. And hey, sweet, what's up, Untranslatable? All right, buddy. Yeah, maybe we'll look at code now that you're here. We're gonna finish this video. So my view on these vibe coding tools is I've never been anti-vibe coding. In fact, I'm all for the democratization of software. This is the future. I mean, we want to do this, right? We want the whole world to be able to communicate with computers. At least I do. It's kind of like the ability to read and write. And so these AI advances to enable people to communicate their ideas to machines in natural language is fantastic. The challenge, though, is that once you get beyond the prototypical state of these software systems and you've built a viable product that you then want to turn into a production quality system, I believe, this is my strong conviction, you will need software engineers for this. Because with the vibe coding tools, at least with, completely unplanned. If you were on the Discord, I just dropped something, and where do I work? Well, I do a few different things. The first is I run my own AI company, Merly. You can Google us. And there, I'll show you. So this is us, and yep, that's me, and this is some of my team. This isn't everybody, and then the MIT has written a few different articles about us. Wrote this article about how we used our system to detect the XZ backdoor hack in a completely unusual way. And then some stuff about investing and all this stuff. Anyway, yeah, so I do a bunch of different things. Run that AI company, do this, and then I teach at the university. LLM. No. No. We've invented our own. This may take a while to explain, but I've been working in the field. I started teaching neural network architecture about 20 years ago at CU Boulder, where I completed my doctorate. Then I joined Intel Labs as a research scientist and eventually founded and directed my own research lab called Machine Programming Research. And at the same time, I've always had one foot in academia. I went from CU Boulder as an adjunct prof there to University of Pennsylvania, and now I teach at this other uni. And I don't say its name because I'm trying not to be a pedigree snob. But if you're really curious, you can Google me. You'll be able to find out these details on the interwebs. So anyway, back to the point is I'm a huge fan of these AI systems, especially when you combine diff, deterministic intent folding, with things like language models and other stochastic AI. But I think that software engineers are critical for a variety of reasons. One of the foremost reasons is the ability to think critically and to move forward with technology before the language models have training in those spaces. And effectively, I think of AI tools as just a form of automation, right? I don't think of them as, I've done many streams on this, on how I think they just elevate us. And so I'm not like afraid of AI systems. I'm not anti-AI, or I probably wouldn't run an AI company. I'm a huge proponent of building learned systems. I think there's a massive value in them. But I also think that humans provide significant value in these spaces in a variety of ways that may not be achievable on machines. And maybe they are, and maybe we just work in tandem with them, but I don't know. I think that they're different tools, right? Like, I don't know that calculators put us humans out of work. I think we all use calculators and they do certain stuff. And so I think of AI as a similar thing. They're advanced like language models or transformer-based neural networks are a form of stochastic learned systems that have incredible potential, but like any technology, they'll have weaknesses, and humans can likely fill in the gaps, right? Is we're kind of really good at a bunch of stuff. And so a lot of this is trying to understand how we can leverage that technology to help us and figure out this new frontier of how we work in tandem with them. So I'm absolutely not of the view that there's no AI. AI is here to stay. Like, I think hopefully anyone that's on this stream is already convinced of that. But if you aren't, you should watch some of the hundreds of videos on GTT. There's a bunch that explain why I think this is the future. Now, that doesn't mean that the current state of mega language models that are being run out of big tech from huge server farms are the future. I actually think the opposite. I think small language models that are domain specific, that have high fidelity and can have larger context windows for very narrow scopes, are extremely valuable for a variety of reasons. And part of that is the power consumption. So the carbon footprint's going to be reduced significantly. Their efficacy to give you value in a very narrow space, but be hyper rich in that value. And generally speaking, I think you can build an ensemble of these things and then use them as a collection, but you don't try to solve this silly problem of AGI that nobody even understands what it means. And so how can we solve a problem? How can we build an AGI system if nobody even knows what artificial general intelligence is? Or at least none of my friends do. And I know I work with a lot of the folks that are literally the people that invented transformers and diff and all the stuff. And so if those guys don't know what AGI is, how does anybody else know what AGI is? So AGI is just kind of what like used car salesman people say that are trying to convince a whole bunch of investors to give them their money and say that they're going to do all the incredible things that are kind of make-believe. Okay, so there's some background. And if people want more background, you can just dig into the channel. But now I want to continue where we left off and hear what these guys are talking about. I think we were talking about how AI is going to change landscapes of industries. And I was kind of pushing back on this because I think they weren't considering how the landscape of the domain itself will change, right? And I think that's a really important view to consider. Is it's not necessarily about that's cool. Yeah. Elon says a whole bunch of stuff. He also said we'd have full self-driving, like autonomous driving, like level 5 by 2018, and I've yet to see that happen. So I don't know that I would trust all the stuff. No disrespect to Elon. I mean, very smart guy, but sometimes as a front person that needs people to hear a certain message, I think sometimes can say things that might be a little overboard. That's just my take, but feel free to make your own conclusions. Anyway, so I was pushing back a little bit because these guys were talking about how like junior developers will exist in this landscape with the AIs. Are the AIs going to do all their jobs? So how do you get the junior developers in? And then they're making similar parallels to like the legal industry. So what's the role for paralegals or junior partners? Because if you don't have those folks, then how do you get to like senior partners and all this stuff? And these are reasonable points, I think. But the thing that I believe they're missing is fundamentally they're not considering how the industry itself will be reshaped with the AI. And so those jobs will also be reshaped. I think what will happen is as like, for example, the way I think about software development is fundamentally disrupted now from the way we used to do it. I think the old model of doing waterfall or agile or whatever the heck we want to do, I think a lot of that is going to go the way of the dodo. I don't even know how things like, will we do code reviews anymore? I don't know. I actually suspect that in many cases, no, we won't. We will do code reviews for really critical components of production quality systems, but for ancillary things, once the AIs get evolved enough, or maybe we'll change the pipeline. So the first pass, like things like Mentor or our deterministic intent folding systems, will do the first pass of the code review and catch 90% of the issues. And then what remains, you'll have some sort of expert look at it. But let's be honest for a second. Were code reviews even like really that valuable before? I mean, my personal view is I don't know that in the decades that I've been doing software, I don't know that a code review has ever discovered anything that meaningful. Because the stuff that I think generally is like hyper important, at least for senior people, it has more to do with architecture. It has more to do with the design of software, and it's very hard to understand that when you're just looking at snippets of code that have changed from one version to the next. You need to be able to deeply reason about the whole software system, not just these 5 lines change from this 5 lines. And that's traditionally what code review has been. And I think that the essence of code reviews is good. Like, I think the idea of having another set of eyes on code is very valuable, but I think the practice of how we implemented it was pretty bogus. It's sort of like it sounds good when we talk about it, but just because something sounds good as an idea, if it doesn't have efficacy in practice, we may want to do something else, is what I'm saying. And so I think that's awesome, because now the AIs can do a lot of that stuff, and humans can do things that humans are better at doing, like creative ideation, thinking about things, trying to understand how pieces fit together, coming up with a list of new features, thinking critically about the overall components, and we figure out how to navigate this new space. So the first thing that I think we need to do when we think about the future of jobs is not like, so if I were to approach this, I would approach it in a very different way than these guys are approaching it. By the way, I have huge respect and props for these guys. They're both hyper intelligent. I love what they have to say. But I think what they're considering, at least in this VOD, is they're considering how these jobs will work in a traditional environment with AI. But that's not what I think the future is. The future is AI will transform these industries. And as the industry is transformed, how will new people or non-new people work in that transformed industry? That, I think, is the principal question that we should be asking. And I think that we won't even understand how to begin to answer that question until we understand how the industries themselves are being transformed. That's what I think we need to be thinking about, is how is AI going to transform software development? How is AI going to transform the legal industry? How is AI going to transform the music and art industry? By the way, just to be clear, I'm not saying that I love all of this stuff. I know some of these companies have done some pretty bogus things and are in massive copyright violation. Like, this is all very complicated. But I'm saying, like, let's put a pin in that and not get ethical on who was right, who was wrong. Let's just say, okay, it was bad, but the future is AI is going to exist. So then how does this industry change? How does the music industry change with AI doing the things that it can do? And how will that be good? How will that be bad? How does that change the way songwriters and musicians work? Like, this is the stuff that is very unclear to me. But I think this is the correct starting point. And then once you can start to imagine how those industries will evolve, and you reason about the transformation of things like, oh, humans aren't going to do code reviews anymore. Just like humans don't generally do long multiplication and division anymore because calculators exist. Why would we? Calculators are so much better and faster. Like, we want to learn the skill in grade school, but largely we want to learn that skill simply because we want to understand the foundations of critical thinking and how it works. But then after you learn it, it's like, okay, cool, now just use a calculator. So similarly, we want to understand the principles of code review, but then I'm all for the AIs doing all the code review, so humans don't ever have to suffer through that silliness ever again. And so under that lens, the question that I really think about is, for junior developers, how do they work in this landscape when the AIs can handle a lot of the scaffolding? But let's be real for a second. Junior developers were already mining code before They were just doing it on Stack Overflow, right? And so it's doing the same thing. It's just more streamlined and automated in some sense. And so like the curtain has been pulled back. Anyway, I could ramble on this for hours, but I'm going to turn over to these guys and we'll see if we can get through this. We'll interrupt along the way, and please light up the chat. Share your thoughts, disagree with me, disagree with them, agree with them, all that stuff. Let's just get into it. And for those of you that are new to the channel, know that I don't generally ban or block anybody. You can say all kinds of like mean things to me. I don't generally care. Just don't threaten anybody with physical violence and everything's going to be good. All right. And let's just try to make the world a better place. Like that's our goal here. Here we go.
Trying to make deals with competing law firms with like the other side of the suit, right? And so that's stuff that's not like, you're not going to have ChatGPT, at least for now, you're not going to have ChatGPT negotiate with their ChatGPT to resolve the case, right?
Right. Okay.
So porting that advice over, which is, if the advice there is figure out whether or not you want to do the other value generating part of this enterprise, which is not the contract review, but drumming up business, making deals, negotiating with counterparties. That's the legal analog.
And untranslatable.
Programming, depending on the field, it's going to be
audio needs adjusting.
Maybe you need to have some ideas about game design if you're a game programmer, or maybe you need to have some idea about art styles if you're a graphics programmer, or maybe you need to have an idea about market opportunities if you're like an app developer, right? So like a mobile app developer, right? So those are the kinds of things that I would recommend thinking about now, which is an umbrella for that is I strongly recommend thinking about whether you care about any of the other value generating bits that are adjacent, because that stuff is not going away, or at least not going away as quickly. And in any case, doing that well still requires the technical understanding that you can't, again, at least for now, you can't do that other stuff at a high level of execution without at least some understanding of the technical side.
Gotcha.
So now let's talk about the artists, because this connects with the artists now. I expect that shovelware apps on the App Store are just going to be AI assets within 5 years, like entirely AI assets.
Okay.
That will require some kind of legal resolution for copyright status of AI outputs, and that's, as you know, a deep rabbit hole that we can address separately. Right now,
yes, we definitely will have to do that one separately, but yeah.
Because right now, just to make the point clear for you, I know you understand this, but for the audience, yes. Let's say that I want to be the maximally AI app developer, right? And I'm going to make an app for naming your cat, right? Like you get a new kitten, and I'm making an app, and it needs icons, and it needs it needs banners, and it needs animations, and whatever, right? And I'm going to do all of that with AI. The current status of outputs from prompt to image generating systems is that absent some other creative act, they are not protected by copyright in the US.
Right.
And there's this entirely separate question of what about China, right? What if you do all your shovelware development in China? Another completely divergent direction of discussion. I think that we're already seeing now. I saw a post about this recently about a new shovelware boom in the app stores in the last 6 months or so, basically lining up with the emergence of agentic workflows, as that's the term here, right?
Right, yeah.
So just to be clear, an agentic workflow is not I type a prompt and I get a result and I hope the result is good. An agentic workflow is you tell it, go do this and don't stop until you meet some success criterion, which is a test suite, or like there's a manual approval process or whatever, right? So that's agentic workflow. So I expect if you are, let's say, a graphic designer, I think in 5 years, all the low end will be one way or another, for economic reasons, just AI art.
Agree.
I don't know how that's going to shake out legally. but I don't see how the business side can avoid driving itself there, because it's, if you're at the point that you don't care about it being good anyway. This is what I mean when I say shovelware, right? It's pejorative, but it is informatively pejorative, right? Which is, there are many people who make apps and they don't care if it's good, right? And like, they will tell you they don't care if it's good. They only care if they can sell, $10,000 worth of it, right? And that's worth it for them. So that's what I mean by,
care if they can,
or they might
sell
not care
shovels.
if the art is good. Maybe they care if the app is good, although they probably don't, because if you don't care if the art's good, you probably don't care if the app's good either. But point
Just gotta
being,
care if it's
you,
getting
as long as you
used.
just don't care if the art is good, then
making money. It's kind of
shovelware
mercenary
art,
and
if you will.
boring.
exactly.
But this is like low commodity goods.
I wish I had advice on what the graphic designers and like illustrators can do about that. I don't know the industry very well, so I can't. But that's something where I would encourage you somehow ask more experienced people what are the other things that make this business a business, right? Because ultimately that's I think that's the most essential question here, which is not. I think artists are not as worried if you really dig into their concerns. I mean, their concerns about like, hey, this is offensive that you're trying to replace me, right? It's offensive that you stole my art to make this thing. It's offensive, like all this stuff. But the most,
it's not great.
The thing that will most deeply hurt people's lives is, I used to be able to make a living doing this, and now
I can't.
Maybe I can't anymore. Maybe it's all over, right? I mean,
and that's why I'm saying that
I would
think
encourage
the way
those people
think
to
about
ask.
this. And this is why I'm saying I think the proper way to think about this is not from a traditional job perspective. I kind of think of it as the shift from horse carriage to automobile. Is the shift is here. So automobiles that shift was happening. And so you're not going to drive horses anymore. You're going to drive horse carriages. That's just the truth of the matter. But it doesn't mean that you won't drive cars, right? And so it's just a shift of understanding how you're going to work in a completely disrupted industry. That's the key point to understand. And so the way to think about it, I think, and I love that they're getting into this now, because before they were kind of just talking about, well, the industry's fixed. How do junior developers or paralegals work in that fixed industry? And it's kind of like, they don't, right? Because they're not needed. But that's not really the point. The point is that now you have this new technology that automates away the need for this other thing. So now, how do those people with various degrees of expertise work in this transformed space? And what's unusual about AI compared to, I think, most other industries, most other technological advances, is AI has the potential to disrupt everything. Almost all domains. So whatever domain you're in, you're an actor, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a software developer, aside from jobs that are purely physical labor, I think that you have to consider this. And the truth is, even people that are physical labor aren't fully protected with the advancement of robotics that are going to also have AIs in them. So it's more of a question about, now that, I kind of think of it as a pyramid of the stuff at the bottom is kind of the minutia stuff that, like, does anybody actually like the job where all you do is rote mechanical stuff all day, that your brain is off, and you're getting paid for it, but you kind of hate your life, and you're looking at your watch wondering, when is this going to be over? This is the worst ever. I think if we're having intellectual honesty, I mean, at least for me, I used to have those jobs, right, when I was in high school or undergrad, and they're kind of like the worst. And I like personally working at these higher levels of thinking. And now what I think is kind of happening is we have the AIs that are going to help with a lot of the lower level work. A lot of that is just minutia. Again, I go back to the calculator example, is that I don't really love having to do long division. And so thank goodness we have calculators. I don't love doing code reviews. I've done code reviews before. They're like the bane of my existence. And so if I can have an AI that can do all those for me, and I only have to do maybe a 5-minute pass instead of a 5-hour pass, oh, my life just got so much better. And so I think they're getting at the heart of, like, if you think about music, I don't know that, my personal view is that humans as a social species, a social animal, we will always want interaction with other humans, even if artificial interactions may have higher fidelity, right? It's for example, why are you guys watching me right now when you could be chatting with a supreme intelligent AI that knows significantly more than I do? I suspect it's probably because humans are unusual. They're stochastic creatures, and we don't exactly know. And they're all kind of different. They do different things, and we're curious about them. And so I think that the evolution of these industries, even if AIs can do music, for example, supremely well, does that mean that people aren't going to go to Taylor Swift concerts? I don't think that future ever exists. Even if you had an AI that could almost perfectly replicate Taylor Swift, I think people would be like, I want the real Taylor Swift, because she's unpredictable and she's real and she's like me. And so I see her as a role model or whatever, you have all the different reasons. And the AI, we all know in some sense, at least today, that they're synthetic. And I think humans are really good about pattern recognition, is detecting that, oh, I'm starting to see a pattern here and it's a bit boring. That the AIs, like for example, in many of the AIs, when they write the summaries of the clips that I put out, I'm starting to detect the patterns in their language, and it's kind of boring because they just do some stuff consistently. Like, one of the things that really annoys me with the AIs is they don't understand nuance and subtlety. And so when they're writing these like briefs or the titles, they try to exaggerate it and be like heavy-handed, because they think that they don't understand that nuance and subtlety is often something that's very engaging with people. And so one of the things they do is they do this, whatever the title is, explained. And explained will be in all caps and exclamation point. Every time they do it, I delete it. Sometimes I miss it, and it's just like, oh gosh, the AI dropped the explained thing again, which, like, who speaks like this? I don't, right? I would never say frontier of AI, explained, because I think that that's just so boring and trite and heavy-handed. And I think a lot of people would look at that and be like, oh my gosh, this is like AI for dummies. It was like, just, it's so basic and flimsy. So the point I'm trying to make is, I think humans, one, are still going to want to work with and communicate with humans, even if AIs are superior in the fidelity of the things that they're producing, because we have this need to interact with social creatures. For example, why do we have pets? Like, think about this for a second, maybe. Why do we have pets? Does our dog or our cat, like, are they superior intellects and they add tremendous value? Like, do they clean the house? Do they do the dishes? Do they make your life less complex or more complex? I think overall, they make your life more complex. It's like, now you gotta, like, clean the house when they tear up the stuff, or, they need food, and sometimes they bark and they run away. And so it complicates our lives. But there's something special, I think, about things that are alive, right? They're curious. They're individual. They're unique. I'm a huge dog lover, for example, and I've had many dogs, and every dog I've had, they're different. Even though they're all of the same species, they have different qualities and different behaviors, and I get to learn about them as they live with me, and they get to learn about me. And it's not necessarily that they add practical value. It's more that they add some kind of emotional value, psychological value, like live being, or I really want to say this, like human element value, but they're not human, so I don't know how to actually describe this. But it's a very interesting thing, because while we provide potentially a ton of value for them, and I realize historically, dogs in principle added significant value to us because they would protect us because they can bark and alert us to dangers. But in the world that exists today, my dog is not really ever, nor do I think he's ever going to save my life, right? Like, he's going to alert me to some, I have security systems and cameras and all that stuff for that, but I still have dogs in perpetuity, because it's not necessarily about the value that they add from a practical standpoint. It's more nuanced than that. And so similarly in the job markets, I think there's going to be these types of things. It's almost like the humans are going to be there to provide things that the AIs may struggle with. Things like judgment, things like the ability to think about problems and not just get it correct, but understand, how would other humans feel about this? What's the state of the world today on what's going on? Does it make sense to do this thing? Right? And so anyway, yeah, I like where they're headed now.
More senior people in the business to help them understand what are the parts that make this business a business, right? Because drawing the art, making the good illustration, that by itself is not a business. There's a separate part of making a name for yourself, branding, finding clients and forming relationships with them, finding people who trust your sense of taste, right? And that's actually something that's quite rare.
Hey, Dark.
Which is finding someone who says, I just like how you think about art, how you think about.
100%. Yeah. Let me give you an example of this. There's this new guy that I'm working with at Merly, and for those of you that know me, in terms of credentials and all the stuff, yeah, I mean, I've done the rite of passage, right? And so I to kind of be at the level that I'm at, I don't mean this bragging rights, I'm trying to illustrate a point. On paper, it may be challenging for most other humans to be at my level, purely based on the things that I've done and the accolades or whatever that I've accomplished. So I have this new executive that I'm working with, and he doesn't have those things. He doesn't have almost any of those things. However, the way he thinks about problems is like invaluable to me. It's more about the way that he unlocks my thinking by just sharing the things that he's thinking about, which precisionally, in many cases, they're not exactly right. Like, he doesn't know the nomenclature, so he gets the language wrong. He doesn't necessarily know all the stuff that I know. And so in terms of knowledge, like just pure density and breadth of knowledge, there's not necessarily much added there, but it's his attitude, it's his creative ideation, and it's the way that he helps me springboard forward that makes him literally a one-off, right? Like, I would take him over hundreds of other people that have PhDs or are professors at the best universities or are technical fellows in industry. And I keep in mind, I work and have worked with all these people, so I've seen this side. Sometimes when people get too many of these like accolades, it can kind of go to their head, and they can become a little stuffy, right? They can become a little challenging to work with because they kind of, decided that they're king or whatever, and that they're like infallible. It's not great, right? It's not. It's generally not my crowd. And so what's interesting is, springboarding up what he's saying, is when we're working with other humans, the value that people bring, and you see this a lot in startups in particular, will often make judgments about who they will hire more based on the vibe that they get from the person, thinking, can I work with this person? Is this someone that I enjoy being around? Is this someone that like I enjoy interacting with and makes my life better? Because my life totally sucks. We're going to be working like crazy. Are they going to make it worse because I'm going to have to interact with this person? Now, it's different in big tech and in really established industries, at least from what I've seen, in that those cases, it oftentimes is a bit more buttoned up, and it's like, oh, well, your resume is not perfect, and oh, you didn't get a degree from this place, and blah, blah, blah. By the way, I really dislike this. This is part of the reason why I kind of like left big tech, is I think that this is a really kind of narrow and superficial and shallow way of making judgments on hiring decisions. Because just because someone was able to get a PhD or, win the Nobel Prize doesn't necessarily mean that they're like a good person and can work effectively in a team, right? So going back to what, is it Demetri? Is this Demetri? Yeah, what Demetri's saying, I think that this, in some sense, is going to change the landscape, because I think that I've been thinking about this quite a bit. I think that soft skills and emotional intelligence, the ability to just like be a good human being and play well with others, is going to become paramount with AI, because AIs can do a lot of the rote mechanical work that we've needed humans to do before. And so we would hire humans and work with humans, even if they're like royal pains in the ass, because they have a skill and they can do something that is of high value. But now the AIs can do a lot of these things. So what I think it's going to force, in some sense, which is like, this is a third, fourth order degree of separation, is I think what's going to force is the evolution of social skills across the global population, that we're going to start to really lean in and teach people how to interact and work with other people in ways that are building communities that are not disruptive. So I think this could be supremely valuable, right? Is there's too many, like in some sense, one of the things that has really bothered me is, as I've seen certain people become really good in their various domains, the world starts to give them more and more of a pass to be not great people, because they become such one-offs, that they have so much skill. There's like, this is why I think actors that get super famous, or people that get super famous, or whatever, just someone becomes such an expert in some particular space, they are afforded the freedom to stop being a good person, because they bring in like a huge amount of value. And now if you roll this back to software engineers, because software engineers are less than 1% of the global population, a lot of software engineers have been allowed to behave like this, because they have a skill that large majority of the world doesn't have. And so they can be royal pains in the ass because their skills are in such high demand. And I love that that's changing, because like, I think that it's possible for almost all human beings to be good human beings. But I think that when you aren't forced to become a better human being, like you are in an environment that enables bad behavior. Like again, what I'm trying to say is I don't know who to blame here. Is it the person that is like doesn't have evolved social skills, or is it the world that's allowing it to pass? Right? This is how I think you get into spaces like pretty privilege. Is like, do you blame the person that's like super pretty for being kind of a bad person, or do you blame the world that basically is not treating this person the way that they would treat them if they weren't like this beautiful person, and so they're getting all these free passes? And so I think that in some sense AI is going to really help with this, because a lot of these jobs that have been seen as really high value, now that the AIs can do it, those domains are going to have to elevate themselves, or at least the humans that are in it, to provide value that's more than just the skill of doing the thing, writing the code, whatever. They're now going to have to learn, oh, I actually have to be a good human being. Now I have to not be a total jerk when I talk to people, and listen, and stop being so dismissive of people's ideas. Like, and I think that's a really good thing, right? I think that that's fantastic, because I think it's going to elevate everybody when you start to build habits of being good people. I think that there isn't necessarily like an off switch, right? For example, sometimes I swear, and I don't like that. But sometimes when I get like really excited about the things that I'm talking about, when I was younger, I used to swear quite a bit. And so I had this habit, right? And so when I'm not doing things like streaming, sometimes I will do this more often. And so I have this habit that I'm trying to break myself of. The problem is that because I do this behavior in these other environments, sometimes it leaks to these other environments where it's not acceptable. If I could just learn to eject this habit from my life across all areas, then I probably wouldn't struggle with this. So I think the same thing is true about leveling people up and their ability to communicate, and their soft skills, their social skills, their emotional intelligence. Is once people are forced to have good social skills in an environment where they work, and they have to do that 8 to 10 hours a day, every day, I think what will happen is they will start to build really good habits, and those habits will transition beyond just the workplace. At least this is my sneaking suspicion, right? And if you think about it, I suspect many of you guys know what I'm talking about. Is you'll know people at work, and you'll get a vibe about them. You'll be like, I kind of like this person. They're easy to work with. They're positive. They are someone that is a force multiplier. So they try to level other people up. And then you see them outside of work, and sure enough, that's who they are outside of work. On the flip side, I think we also all know the people that are like kind of a pain in the butt in the work environment, and then you see them outside of the work environment, and lo and behold, they're still kind of a pain in the butt outside of the work environment. Anyway, so these are the types of things, these transformative things that I think are going to happen across the globe because of AI. And these are the things that I think we likely haven't even begun to really start to think about. Many of these I think are going to be good. Some of these I think obviously are going to be very bad. And it's the stuff that's like, that's where responsible AI comes in. Like, one of the biggest things I think we need to be very concerned about is the carbon footprint of these massive data centers. This is why we need to really kind of move away from the mega language models and shift more toward things that are sustainable in the long term. Like, if we want AI to be actually sustainable as something that we use iteratively and beyond just a couple years that destroys the planet, we instead want this to be something that we partner with and use for the whole forward progress of the human race for centuries to come. We need to bring the compute envelope down significantly. It has to decrease by orders of magnitude, right? thousands of times, millions of times. It's not just we need to reduce it by 50%. That's not going to cut it. So these are some of the bad things we need to do, but I think there's like a lot of good things that are happening. And what I'm really keen on doing is trying to help people get out of this pendulum type of mentality where they're 100% anti-AI. So everything AI is bad. It's like, it's just not. I'm trying to help move all of us to less absolutist views. This is gray. This is very nuanced. AI, I think, can add incredible value. That doesn't mean that AI is like everything and we could turn our brains off and, just the AIs are going to do everything. That's equally as bad, is just embracing AI as the be all end all. So in my view, it's neither sides of this pendulum. And the truth is, I think in real life, very rarely is it ever the case. I don't know that there's ever a complex topic that we would deeply reason about and we can make an absolutist claim about it. No, I generally don't talk about politics, so I'm not going to, but politics are one of the areas where you could take an absolutist view on something, but I think if we're being intellectually honest, in almost any of those absolute views, you can see that, well, not really though, right? There are cases where you might want to not do the absolutist view. You may not like it, but in your heart of hearts, you're kind of like, well, but it does kind of make sense. And so this is the problem that I think we're running into. We have run into in the past. Back when I started getting interested in AI and neural networks, we were on the other end of this. It was the polar opposite of what it is today. The community was anti-AI. It was anti-neural networks. And I was of the mindset that, like, this is why I started teaching neural network architecture and why I was building these massive neural networks back in like the early 2000s, is I thought they had huge potential. And I didn't understand, like, why are people so like anti this? It doesn't make sense. But then we saw the opposite, largely with the massive explosion in the market with ChatGPT in Q3, Q4 of 2022. Suddenly it became the complete opposite. AI, everything. That's also equally as bad, right? And then I was so confused. This language models have massive problems that there's no way to, at least to the best of my knowledge, to solve hallucinations, because language models innately are stochastic machines. Stochastic machines, by their very definition, behave stochastically. And stochasticity means that unless you have like a completely controlled, spherically constrained stochasticity, the SCS stuff we've talked in the past, you will have mistakes. You will have hallucinations. That's just the byproduct of a stochastic machine, like humans, right? For example, I teach this stuff at the university. Do I always get it right? No, I don't. I still make mistakes because I'm human. And so the idea that the language models will be doing all this cool stuff and they'll be perfectly precise, you're just drinking the Kool-Aid, right? It's not that. And so we need to be able to like assess these things in a reasonable way, to actually think about this and understand the nuance, understand where they're really good, where they're not so good, and then how we can kind of navigate the space forward, both in the advancement of the AI technology itself and understanding how humans in all industries are going to work alongside the AIs. What complicates this is I think that every domain is likely going to be impacted by AI in fundamentally different ways. So I don't think it's going to be broad strokes here. I don't think it's going to be one size fits all. Is saying, oh, well, you're just no longer going to do reviews of code anymore, so just apply that everywhere. And so you say in the legal field, oh, you're just no longer going to do reviews of the legal documents. They've done that, And people ended up getting into a lot of trouble because the AIs will end up citing or inventing cases that didn't exist. And then people are literally like getting barred from the judicial system, right? So no, it's not going to be a one size fits all. It's going to have to require a lot of fine tuning in each domain. It's going to be painful. It's going to take time. This is going to take decades. This is my strong conviction. Again, I just relate it to the internet. The internet was invented, the original, whatever it was called, it was like Berkeley Systems, back in the 1970s. And now in 2026, we still don't fully understand the internet, because the internet's a very powerful thing and it's opening up new opportunities on the daily. AI is likely going to be the same way. It's going to take us decades to understand how this impacts these different domains. And on top of that, what's going to make matters better or worse, depending on if you're glass half full, half empty, is the AIs themselves are going to advance, just like the internet. And so the moment that you think you have it figured out, the rug's going to be pulled out from underneath you and you're going to have to evolve. And from my perspective, just because I'm not wired right in the brain, I love that. I think that's freaking awesome, right? This is one of the most incredible times to be alive. Just the sheer amount of uncertainty of how this will all play out, and our ability to directly impact the future and how it's unrolling and unveiling itself in real time. Like, this is amazing. This is, from my viewpoint, as I think I mentioned in the past, I'm 51 now, 51. So 5 decades I've been alive. In those 5 decades, there's been 3 things that I think I've lived through from a technological space that have been truly disruptive, at least for software and computers. Probably different for other fields, but from my perspective, at least 3. The first is the invention of the internet. I think that just was a massive game changer. The second was the proliferation of open source. Open source fundamentally has changed everything. The third is the ubiquity of AI. This is the third. We are living in the third right now. And so the opportunities to do this and figure this out in real time, I think, is, at least from my perspective, in my life, I don't know that I'm going to live through another full disruptive, oh my gosh, this is a golden era of something. And so this is part of the reason why GTT exists, is I just couldn't sit on the sidelines. A lot of it is I was getting really infuriated by the media and a lot of the lies that were coming out from some of the deeply funded AI companies that were really overselling the Kool-Aid. And I don't love that, right? I especially don't love it when people know better. I don't mind when people make mistakes due to like lack of knowledge, but I really mind when people seem to intentionally do nefarious things and they know that it's not the truth. And I think we were getting a little bit like, life is nuanced. There's a lot of dichotomies and contradictions that I think are going on around us all the time. One of the things I struggle with personally is I live in Silicon Valley and I love it here, but I also hate it here, if you know what I mean, right? It's amazing being around all these tech bros and cis and nerds. I love it. Definitely my type of people, but I don't love the greed, right? There's a lot of people that are just, I think, motivated by things that are very superficial. And when they get so caught up in this one dimension, they can hurt other things or other people that are really trying to do good things, but don't necessarily have the type of influence simply because they don't have the money or they don't have the visibility or this type of stuff. So this is This is a big reason for me creating this channel. Anyway, okay, enough monologue. Back to these guys.
Art style. So,
oh, and Core, man, your name is brother. Holy cow. That is one heck of a name. But can you explain what you mean about you're the number one target when the Matrix began? I mean, I think you're joking, and I like it, but are you talking about us in general, humans, or are you talking about me in particular? Like, I am personally the target. I hope it's all of us, right? Not just me.
So I can't give specific advice there, but my course advice is to find the people who can tell you what are all these other activities that make the business a business, and start looking there. Now, if you are extremely talented and you make 3D models for AAA games, and you do like high-end rigging for anything where artistry of execution is important, I think you're safe for now. I think you're safe for like maybe 5 years. What happens in 5 years, I don't know. But right now, you see these demos that they put out with what was it called? Genie, Google Genie.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And have we discussed the idea of a dancing bear before?
Yes, but not in public. So you should explain what the dancing bear is, because it was I've used it since you told me that. In private, I've used it many times, just never in public, I don't think, because I didn't know if anyone would know what I meant. So please, yes, I would love this to be a more commonly used phrase so I can just say it.
So this actually, I learned it from a blogger back in 2007. I wish I remembered the name. So blogger who taught me dancing bear, thank you. I'm sorry I don't remember your name. Okay. But anyway, the idea is you go to a circus and they have, one of the things that they have on display is a dancing bear. Why do people go look at the dancing bear and pay to see the dancing bear? It's not because the dance is good, right? The dance is actually terrible. The thing that's interesting is that the bear is dancing at all, right? And this connects to engineers, because frequently engineers, as a matter of personality, they over-focus on the fact that the bear is dancing and under-focus on the fact that the dance is terrible. Okay?
I see.
So, Google puts out this Genie thing, and it's a perfect example of a dancing bear, because it's actually, if you ignore the fact that you would never want to play this game,
right, it's
actually quite impressive what it does, right? Like there's a
yes.
stable, persistent 3D world. Things are moving around with something like physics. Like you can tell that it's not really physics, but it's something like physics, right? And to be clear, I don't mean like Newton physics, not physicist physics. I mean just like integrating velocity over time. It's not quite that, right?
Things you might see in a rudimentary game.
Yes, exactly.
That's what it kind of looks like that, right? Yeah.
So I see in the 3D and animation world right now a lot of dancing bears. I have not yet seen anything that approaches a nice dance, and so I encourage this as a lens in looking at new developments. Like,
okay. I just wanted us to get a reference point of what I think they're talking about. So here's the Google Genie thing, and I think this is what they're trying to get at with the physics, the AI physics models, and how advanced they're getting in their ability to project these virtual things in a way that has the appearance of being in the physical world. I think that's what they're getting at. Has anybody used any of these things? I wonder if we can just click this button and okay. So, yeah, we don't want any of that. Oh, I guess we have to. Yeah, let's just do that. this notice. Oh, I have to scroll. Okay, there we go. You don't have, okay. All right, I don't have access yet, so can I click this anyway? Oh, look at this. All right, so let's do, make the dancing bear video. Okay. Yeah, I didn't read what it said. Early prototype. We continue to evaluate. Okay. All right. Well, I will, I guess we'll back channel this. Now that I know about this, I've got some, I can poke some friends over at Google and see if I can get access so we can play around with this Google Genie thing. Cool. This is the beauty about doing these things together is, just to be totally honest, I do part of this very selfishly so I can learn, because you guys teach me new things all the time, and then as we do these response things, I get to learn about stuff. Maybe you guys do too, and then now we know more. We know about the Google Genie. This is like so incredible. Sorry, Dark. If you go back, I think you can use a pre-made world. Oh, I see. Okay, hold on. Let me try to go. Oh, I see what you're saying. So instead of doing try okay. I'm just, woo, this thing is expensive. Holy cow. It's half off right now. So it's only $125 a month. It's normally $250 a month. Woo. I mean, it kind of makes sense because it's probably doing a lot of compute on the back end. So, all right, let me do this. I'm going to continue to fiddle with this while we're doing this. The reason why I'm putting it off screen is just if it asks for my personal credentials. I want to kind of keep that off the stream. Yeah. I think whenever they do these, just to lean in more about what Dark's saying here, very rarely have I ever seen this, everybody's cooked because of this one advancement, right? Like, this is what they said about Uber. You know, Uber was coming out and the cab industry is totally cooked. Yeah, cabs are still running, right? I mean, maybe their market share is smaller. Then we had the construction of programming language, Java, I think. Java was saying, oh, all the C, C++ developers are cooked. I don't know. Linux is not written in Java, to the best of my knowledge. Neither is Git, neither is Mentor. And it's not bashing on Java. I think Java's great for certain things. So yeah, I think almost any time people are saying like this one thing is gonna basically fully disrupt or destroy whatever. Again, it's kind of like this absolutist claim. Very rarely does this ever really happen. It more just all right, okay. We're about to get Byte and I are about ready to throw down here. Like these are some fighting words. Listen, I love functional programming. All right, I'm all about side effect free programming and programming in ways that mostly use immutable states. There's brilliance to this. And in fact, almost all my C++ code works this way. I get really frustrated when people don't have const correctness or they don't program in ways that limit mutability, especially for things like encapsulation. And I do also just tangentially think that a lot of people misuse object-oriented programming. And in fact, I think that now that I'm talking with more people that are anti-OOP, what I believe is I'm actually in alignment with them is so I wouldn't say that I'm anti-OOP, but I'm definitely anti a lot of the practices that I think exist in object-oriented programming that are horrific. They're Oh, do I know you in real life, Core, or do we? Yeah, I used to lift and stuff, and then, well, I still do, but I had the shoulder surgery a year and a half ago, fully reconstructive, so I couldn't lift at all for well, I'm just starting now for a year and a half. So yeah, I've lost quite a bit of muscle, unfortunately, but now I'm using the Harambe system, and yeah, I'm starting to get back into it. But anyway, so going back to the OOP thing, is there are a couple things in OOP that I think are just such bad ideas. And I think object-oriented programming in general gets a bad rap because of some of these things. And it's funny because I don't even, like, I actually agree with that. The things that I love about like C++ have very little to do with those things. It has to do with other things. For example, massive inheritance trees, I think, are fundamentally a ridiculously bad idea. It's so bad. I've worked in systems, not created by me, but where people were exploring OOP and they just went, as engineers do, they just went far down some rabbit hole and decided, let's make our life about exploring all the traits of the language. And so they started to do these massive inheritance hierarchies. And once you do that, if you create massive inheritance hierarchies and you use virtual inheritance or you use a lot of virtual functions, you're going to likely get into a case where you're so far down this rabbit hole that almost nobody understands what's going on. Like, it's overwhelmingly confusing. Like, for example, you have a function call in a function, but it uses this pointer to some base class, and nobody knows what function is actually being called. It could be 30 different functions, and the only way to tell is to like do it at runtime and put a breakpoint in there and actually see what it is, or do some sort of trace. This is super not great, right? And I'm not saying that inheritance is bad, but I think that in many cases, too much of anything is bad. 1 scoop of ice cream, probably great. 300 scoops of ice cream, probably not great. So moderation. I think that there are really powerful cases to use inheritance, especially when combined with templates that allow you to do crazy powerful things. So if you eliminate inheritance completely, you likely can't do those things. These are things like policy, programming that have template. I can't remember exactly how I would do some of these things, but it was like, yeah, I think it was a template base class. And then you derive from that and you send a type or some sort of thing to the base class. And you want that because you want essentially everybody to follow these core abstractions in the base class, but you want it to be strong typing, not weak typing that you get through like pointers. So the way to do this is you sort of enforce APIs at like this base level, but then you provide strict typing through templates as mutability that comes from the derived classes. Now, to be clear, these are unique cases of doing this. And I think in those cases, it's very powerful. On the other hand, I think that just using inheritance over aggregation is probably, it's just like a ridiculously bad thing. If you can just use data structures directly and keep the code clean and, loosely coupled but strongly cohesive, this is kind of what you want. So anyway, and also, that's one thing, is I really love templates, and templates really have almost nothing to do with classes. They're more about, it's generic programming. So I'm keen on generic programming, and I'm actually keen on many of the things that functional programming provides. But again, I think that back in the real world that I live in, like building systems, oftentimes too much strictness can make things impractical. And so for sort of like very controlled spaces, especially when you work in like academic spaces where you're pushing forward theoretical things rather than applied things, I think that functional programming, like almost all the hardcore functional programming people that I know are these brilliant academic people that I know, or these brilliant researchers that are, top of the food chain, and they love things like Haskell or other types of functional languages. But then when you're building kind of like these real systems, you often need to have some kind of bending of the rules. Anyway, the other thing that I love about object-oriented programming, and I do think this is an object thing, although a lot of people kind of say that it's not, but I think that it kind of is, especially the shift from C to C++, and that is a data encapsulation. I think data encapsulation and the use of contracts through interfaces is a critical thing to move software forward, so you can build large-scale software systems. Large scale. So what I mean by large scale is I mean things that are over 500,000 lines of code or over 1 million lines of code. That until you've built a system that's really big, it can be hard to understand how much value there is to data encapsulation and not allowing attributes to be accessed directly. These problems are often manageable in smaller systems. Is that you make a mistake with this one trait, you need to change it, and you're like, oh shoot, this is going to change all of the code where it's accessed, and then it's like, oh, that's okay. There's only 10,000 lines of code, so I'll just do like a quick find and replace and change it in all the things, right? Sure, absolutely. Then that scales to 1 million lines of code. And suddenly there are places where in the code, the thing that you're changing, that trait that you didn't hide behind an interface because you didn't follow data encapsulation, well, that trait name is used by other pieces of code, other components, and it's identical. So this whole copy replace thing that you worked out in your 10,000 line program, suddenly it doesn't work. Is that you end up changing a whole 80% of the cases are not the case that you're trying to fix, or worse, 99% of the cases are not the case you're trying to change. How do you do like this find and replace fix, right? And so if you have data encapsulation and you hide things behind interfaces, what this does, like at least from my perspective, is it creates this highly cohesive but loosely coupled environment where you can, what you really want to do, at least from my view, in large scale software development, is you want to be able to support mutability and iteration of implementation. Just moving forward in this concept of the future is unknown. So what I need to do is harden the software to be able to be largely, like massively flexible to a future that I can't predict. And one of the key ways to do that is to communicate through interfaces and only interfaces, because this becomes the contract that everybody is going to. And building really good interfaces is not easy. It's, in fact, I think one of the hardest things to do. But you can do it. And if you get that right, then what it does is it allows the internal implementation of this class, of this object, to be completely free. That you can specialize it to all these different things. It can work this way for CPUs, and this way for GPUs, and this way for a phone, and this way for a data center. Whereas if you have it access those traits directly, you lose its flexibility. Anyway, that being said, I totally hear what you're saying, Dark, and I I agree actually quite a bit that the potential misuses, and keep in mind, like all my friends know that I'm sort of like a C++ snob, like not really, but you know, that's the joke that we have. But I definitely see a lot of people that are not C++ experts misuse the language. And in many of those cases, I think the misuse of the language is, it's possible because they can, right? And I think one of the arguments that I get from the functional people is just don't let them. And so I think that, like, maybe one of the things that makes me the saddest is you have a language like C#, where I think C# is actually quite brilliant. I think there's a lot of things that in the C# community they did absolutely right, and it's amazing. But using a non-standard language, using a language that is proprietary, I think is very dangerous. One argument could be made, the same thing is with Golang, but with Go, I think it's fundamentally different, is that I do think it's like standard conforming now, even though it had similar kind of roots in that Microsoft was creating C# and Google was creating Go. I think the environment was different, right? It wasn't the same. Anyway, cool. Yeah. I mean, we were going to write Mentor completely in C#. We didn't because of the binding to Microsoft. Whether real or not, I think that's still, or at least it was a concern. We were making these decisions early on. Okay. Enough Goju monologuing, back to these guys.
This is a dancing bear, and how far are we from a dance that's worth seeing as a dance, as opposed to something that's merely interesting because it's a bear that's doing the dance.
Right. So, you're basically asking the question, like, when can we cast this bear in Swan Lake?
Exactly.
Right? And the answer is pretty far from that right now.
If you're doing AAA,
when will we get there? Who knows?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How fast can this bear learn to dance better than it's dancing right now?
Right. So those people, the good news is that I think those people are safe, at least for now. The bad news is that there aren't that many of those people, right? Again, we keep coming back to this development of the more junior people. Like, what do you do, right? Because not everyone, almost no one at 22 is doing like the top end models for GTA 6, right?
Well, and I would hate to point out, and I guess this is probably a good place to end this first conversation. It's something we probably will want to talk about at length in a future conversation, which is that everything you're describing kind of suggests that there's a nasty stratification that will happen between people with special skills who are sort of outlier talented at doing something, let's say, and they can still have jobs for potentially quite some time. And then sort of if you're nothing special, you will just get left behind. And
1,000%. I totally disagree with this. Like, 100% disagree. I don't. Sorry, Casey. I mean, whether you're saying this is what Demetri is saying, or if this is your characterization, I really just don't buy into this narrative at all. I mean, first of all, of course, the people at the top of the food chain are going to be protected. That's just natural, right? Like any field, this is the way it's going to be, right? You pick the field, and the people at the top are always going to be the ones that are the most insulated with any kind of change. It doesn't have to be AI. It's sort of a universal thing. But I don't think that that's the right way to think about this. I think we're all impacted by AI. And in fact, in one of the studies I was going to show you guys last time, I think maybe I skipped it, is one of the things that's actually quite interesting as just maybe as an anomaly in this university was doing a study on the people that are adopting AI and the people that are not. And one of the observations they had, which again is not surprising to me, if you think about it for 2 seconds, what they found is that people that are like entry-level people in whatever domain, this was just across many domains, those people were not using AI much at all. But almost all of the leaders, so the founders, any of the C-suite people, or any executive, they're all using AI. And it makes sense to me because people that are leaders oftentimes are tip of the spear, right? They're curious people. That's how they kind of became leaders to begin with, is they want to know stuff. They're curious and they're gonna tinker. And so what's really curious about this is, so first of all, that's me. And I think that's all of you, is I use AI for everything these days. I'm using it to make my own music, make my own art, help me draft emails, all this stuff, help me write code. I just use it for everything that I can. And part of that is I'm just curious. I want to understand where the limits are. I want to understand what breakthroughs are being made. I want to just see how it can make my life better and help automate away the minutia, right? I'm all about just having advanced technology do heavy lifting for me. This is part of the reason why my setup continues to change, is the moment that I get things working, then I think I want to push the envelope and make it better. And so I just keep leveling it up and leveling it up. This is generally, I think, just a really good way to live life, is just live in this growth mindset of the only goal for today is to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday. That's it. That's the only goal. But just have that be every day. And it's amazing how much that growth will compound over time. Anyway, so what's interesting about this study is, I think it's the second or third, fourth order observations, is when you think about leaders are using AI more, there's a very kind of naive way of viewing this of like, oh, well, that's because they're trying to understand how it's going to reshape stuff and they have the luxury of time and all this. It's usually the opposite. The people that I know that are leaders, they're the ones that are the busiest, is that they just sacrifice all these other things so they can just like, yes. So this is one of the biggest things. It's a key way to avoid atrophy, is you are staying current on all the stuff. Now, the second and third or fourth order effects is, think about this for a second, right? There was a time that these leaders were not leaders. Is it possible that the quality of being curious is in fact a self-selection bias, and that's the reason why they are leaders? That it's not that leaders themselves are curious about this, and so once you become a leader, you suddenly will be more curious and you'll be more interested. Could it be that people that are curious and that are tinkerers naturally gravitate to the leadership positions because of this quality? And so it literally has nothing to do with the fact that as you get higher up in the org, you become more interested in some trendy whatever thing. It's more of a human characteristic that separates the people that are going to be the disruptors and the people that run the world versus everybody else. And the truth is, what I've seen, and this is kind of how I make my decisions about people that are in my inner circle, is they all have this quality. They're very curious people. They think their own thoughts and they just try to constantly learn. They have this growth mentality. And the people that don't have that, the people that are like, no, I'm good. I don't need to grow. I don't need any growth. Those people, like, those people are gone before they ever even have a moment to be considered. At least for me, is I'm completely uninterested in people that think they already have reached a level of perfection, that they're done growing because they know they've done all the growth that they need to do. I think that is just a ridiculously narrow, simplistic, arrogant, and largely in some sense it's insecurity, right? I think that the people that are the most insecure are the ones that want to live this pretend life of, I don't need to grow. Aren't I enough? Right? No, you're not. Nobody is. Right? This is what life is about. The whole point is just keep growing. And so, but the people that are really, really confident are the ones that take the mindset of course I want to grow. I'll never be done growing. I want to learn. Then the inverse happens, is that the people that are so open to growth, they naturally become the most confident people because they know the most stuff. And the people that are insecure, it becomes this cyclic thing, is they're insecure. And so they want to put up this front of being like, why am I not enough? Why do I have to grow? Why do I have to change? And so it actually compounds. It becomes this echo chamber of like reinforcing this bad behavior, and they become more and more limited. They know less. They are communicating with others less, and they suddenly kind of have model collapse, right? I mean, or something like that. Anyway.
And that is not a great outcome. Like, we don't want most industries to look like rock music or
Yes.
the NFL. That's not a great outcome, because in those kinds of industries, there are very few people who can actually get paid as.
Just like a really important additional piece. So I agree with what he's saying. We don't want all industries to be rock music or the NFL, but I want to make a really important distinction here. Both of the industries that he just mentioned are entertainment. Please think about this for a second. It's not something that we need. It's something that we choose as leisure activities. And all leisure activities will often be run by a very small community because it's hyper competitive. It's not a necessary thing. And so it will support a very small number of people that have like really advanced skills and they're experts in this space. That's the same way with anything related to entertainment, art, music, sports, the entertainment, like movies, TV shows, right? It's a hierarchy of talent. And so, but that's not how the world works when it comes to things that are not leisure activities, that are not really, there are things that we actually need in a very functional capacity that are critical, like power, right? Like computers, things that have concrete functional value that without it directly impacts quality of life. Some of those are like related to us being able to function as humans, like hospitals, or core necessities like soap or water, right? And these are very different types of industries. So this space of the parallel here, I think, is software can be used for entertainment purposes, but a large majority of the world is using software for functional governance of things, like access to power, access to water, agriculture, stuff that we kind of like need as a species. Or let me reframe it, is that these are significant quality of life enhancements that are not necessarily hobbyist activities. So like for example, you could I'm not saying that this world would be good, but you could eliminate music and movies and art completely, and we would all keep moving forward. You don't need it to survive. But the moment the water gets turned off and we no longer have access to like running water, we're in trouble. Same thing with like electricity. Now, I know that there are some societies that can function without running water or without electricity, but these are becoming like commoditized broad quality of life things that are kind of built in as staples of advanced societies. They're not necessarily like luxuries. So anyway,
it's player. I'm talking about the players, not obviously the infrastructure around.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because another term that I found useful here is you may have heard this.
Yeah, exactly, Dark.
This
dependencies.
Term of so-called blocking and tackling. So like when you have a football team, right? Many things have to happen, right? But if you don't have blocking and tackling, which is the most basic thing of like, your guys can't come over here, we're going to stop you, right? Or like if one of your guys is running, we're going to tackle him, and that's usually not the thing that generates the star power, right? The star power is usually the quarterback and anyway, like coach, whatever, right? But the point is that you can't have a football team at all without blocking and tackling, right? And so this phrase blocking and tackling refers to all the stuff that has to be done competently, or there's nothing at all, right?
Right.
And that stuff, I don't know what happens with that in programming in the next 5 years.
Or
like,
several other things.
Yeah, right? Or several other things,
yeah.
right? So like if Carmack is like the quarterback, right?
Right.
And Gabe is like the coach, right? Or the owner, I don't know. Like, those people will still have star power.
Who's
right?
Gabe?
Right.
But the stuff that just makes the thing work at all.
Carmack is John Carmack, right? I mean,
we don't have a good answer for those
who's
people.
Gabe?
Right now. And
this analogy has completely gone off the rails. I meant more like just if you talk about football players.
yes, I know.
I just meant like the number of football players that there can be in the world earning a reasonable living is very low.
Yes.
Versus the number of people who would enjoy potentially playing football, or you can pick any sport you want. Maybe what Europeans call football, for example, is a better analogy.
Oh, is that the CEO of Steam? By the way, that guy is freaking amazing. I love if that's the guy we're talking about. It's Gabe Newman. Like I am so +1 on this guy. I feel like he's making one good decision after another, and he's becoming just like he's reached like legendary status in my mind at this point. Yeah. I mean, I have a Steam Deck. I can't believe what's happening. Like, oh yeah, it's he's. Here we go. So we're talking about Gabe Newell. Okay. All right, so this part, just so we're all on the same page, matters zero to me. From my perspective, I do not care about someone's wealth as an indicator of their value. I'm far more interested in the things that they've done. Okay, this part matters to me because founding a company and then running it is a really difficult endeavor, at least for me. And then building a successful company, it's while still being like a good human being, just really challenging. I think there's a lot of people that can found companies and be terrible human beings and kind of cheat, steal, and lie their way to the top of the food chain. I think we see that quite a bit. But there are one-offs, I think, that like Gabe and like Linus and Carmack and maybe even Sweeney that end up they're serious ballers, they're amazing, and they stay as good people. But what he's done in his lifetime, okay, so he famously dropped out of Harvard, seems like that's a thing. After being convinced, spent 13 years at Microsoft doing Windows, and then he created his own venture. Let's see, he co-founded Valve. Okay, so cool. So one thing that's also really interesting is if you look at, I've made this comment many times, is there's a lot of this belief that you create a startup when you drop out of whatever school. Predominantly, there seems like the places to drop out of are Stanford and Harvard for some reason. And then you go on to be some billionaire. So this is actually not like the true narrative. Those cases do exist, but if you look at the actual data, and I have, what you see is the average age for successful startups is like 47. It's not 23. It's literally 47. And there's a big reason for this. You know more stuff. You've been around the block. You've built connections. You have a network. You're like you've established yourself, and so you know a whole bunch of things, and it helps you avoid a lot of mistakes. And so it's really interesting to me is you look at he created Valve in 1996. I don't think I actually knew about Steam and was using Steam until like maybe 10 years after it was founded. I had no idea that they created it this early, right? But it's the stuff that happened before, right? He was at Microsoft for 13 years. 13 years he was at Microsoft building out Windows and becoming an expert in all this software stuff before he created Valve. This gives him tremendous amount of operational experience, practical experience of knowing how to build like software and software infrastructure. So then you can go on and do this. Okay, yeah, so Steam platform. Yeah, okay, so that kind of makes sense, is that they created Valve early on. And yeah, okay, sweet. I didn't even know the lore here that they were creating these games, and then they switched to the Steam platform. So by the time he's doing the Steam platform, the actual fundamental architecture that's like reshaped the planet, this doesn't happen until after he's been in industry for basically 20 years. So he has 20 years of operational experience of building stuff and going through the motions before they ever get to the point to actually launching Steam. And then now, when you fast forward 20 years later, now we have basically Steam dominating, right? And dominating, I think, in a way that's really good, at least for us hardcore gamers. There was a time before games would just transition from machine to machine, or be able to work on your portable device and your desktop and all of this stuff, and just have the assets of your game, like your saves and your characters, be transferable. This was, I mean, for those of us hardcore gamers, there was ways around this. Like we would hack the system, or, you know, we'd know which files to carry over, but it was cumbersome. It was slow, and sometimes the games would not make it super easy, and you would break stuff. It was just, and on top of that, what made it even more painful is some of the games, as they move forward, they'd have like the single registration. This is before Steam. And so you'd buy the game, and then you'd register it. And so it'd be like, here's your single license, you use it. This is before licenses were even transferable. And then you go to a new machine and you try to load the game, and it wouldn't let you load it. This is part of the reason why sometimes people turn to piracy, is they were like, I already bought the game. This is a bunch of BS. Like, I don't use this machine anymore. I uninstalled it, and I can't use the license because it says that this is before you could even down select the licenses, right? Because this is all logic that has to work in the back end or whatever. And so some people, I think, got really furious with this, myself included. And then they were like, well, I'm just going to hack the system. So, like, some ways, do you even blame them, right? Like, why do you have to pay to buy the game twice or 5 times if you keep, like, upgrading your hardware? Anyway, so I love that Steam is coming in and doing this stuff, I think, the right way. Is like they have an open review system. They're tracking the hours that people are playing, so they make sure the reviews are honest. They're not allowing companies to like shut down the negative reviews, which a lot of people are getting upset about. And so they're keeping the market free in some sense. I think Asmongold talks about this, is that they're not allowing like companies to basically say, oh, this is a negative review, and they're saying stuff that's like not true about the game or whatever. People can say what they want to say, and if they played the game, like, people can see that. And so, like, the core infrastructure of that way that community is run, I freaking love it. And then on top of that, like with the Steam Deck actually running on Linux, this has opened up such a massive forward path, right? It's part of the reason why I think Linus is so infuriated with Jensen Huang and NVIDIA is, I don't know all the details, but I suspect that he wanted NVIDIA GPUs to work with Linux and get the drivers on there, so then they could start to have video games. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but at least according to the lore, Linus was saying there's basically 2 things that he would work on in software, and it was video games or operating systems, because those are basically the 2 spaces that he thought were like, these are the frontier of the field. And so I've wanted video games on Linux for forever, but being bound to Windows and DirectX or the .NET infrastructure, I think can make it like you're kind of bound to Microsoft. And again, corporate greed and partnerships and stuff, I suspect there's strong incentivization from NVIDIA to keep alignments with Microsoft. And there's stuff probably that we don't know about that's going on that's intentionally boxing Linux out so that they can't get a foothold. And that's not great, right? So now you have Steam coming in, and Steam is getting Linux to have games, and that's freaking amazing for a bazillion reasons. Like, truthfully, my go-to operating system would be Linux if Linux had all the stuff that I get from Windows or Mac OS. I would literally just be using Linux for everything, just because I'm a command line kind of guy, right? Like the mouse is kind of the bane of my existence. I don't actually like this thing. I just want to live in the keyboard if I can. And so I think most power users are that way, right? It's just like you can fly if you're just command line. Like, once you get through the learning curve of it, you can go so much faster if you're CLI. Anyway, so just a little bit of a tangent there. Now we know what Gabe he's talking about. Look at all the stuff we're learning from these guys and from the chat. So thanks, Dark. I appreciate it. It's great stuff.
Because it's much more widespread throughout the world.
Oh, hold on. Awesome. Yeah, I know a little bit about the Vulkan stuff, but not that much. So I suspect I've got some more reading and things to do. Oh, that's awesome. What variant of Linux are you using, Dark?
World, right? And more relatable perhaps would be like the music industry, like I said, like Rockstar. The number of people who get paid well in the music industry for playing an instrument or singing a song is shockingly small. It is
entertainment industry.
so few people that if that's what most industries look like, the entire world is poor, right?
Yes.
There's 0.01% of the people who are making a reasonable living, and everyone else is dirt poor.
Yes. And I mean, I lived in LA, so like this is a very, very concrete thing. But
acting would be another example.
People who were trying to get into acting, trying to get into music,
entertainment,
and they were, doing like either like wait staff or whatever, right? And like these were like people I knew who I knew personally who were smart, talented, hardworking. It wasn't the folk story of like someone who actually wasn't talented but thought they'd make it in LA. Right? These are people who I know were smart, talented, hardworking.
We use Ubuntu as well,
and still,
that's awesome.
Still had to do something else because
I was actually just talking to my co-founder because I have this what is my box? I have this Lambda box, and it's pretty legit. I mean, I'm a little disappointed with the RAM. It only has 128 gigs of RAM, and I think it only has right now like a 4 terabyte hard drive, but it is NVMe too, so that's nice. But I think I can get that up. Anyway, that aside, it's a 16 core machine. It has 2 NVIDIA GPUs on it. This box is rocking. This is the new setup. So I had to switch from my old setup because it's not powerful enough for me to do all the stuff I want to do, because I want to stream, play games at the same time, and I do this post-production, and I want to run the code gen systems locally, and I'm building out the frontier of machine learning stuff, and I want to run local as much as possible for a variety of reasons. One, I just have more control, and servers go down, and just latency and things. Anyway, so I was talking with my co-founder, and he was actually giving me some he and I have a very playful relationship, but he pokes at me constantly on things that, like, I know that I can be leveling up. And so he's yelling at me saying, why are you still using Windows? And so we were just talking about how I was going to dual boot my machine early tonight. This is the new box, so I haven't set all the stuff up. And so my go-to was going to be Ubuntu. And so it's great to know that you're using it. And I like to get a reinforced signal, because I was at one point having Linux be my daily driver when I was getting like really, really deep into, when I was doing like my doctorate, and I was just like in the trenches. I was like, I need to do science stuff. I need to do hardcore technical stuff. And now I've gotten, I need to be reminded of my roots is what I'm saying. Yeah. Anyway. Oh yeah, that was one of the biggest things, is it was about getting OBS to work properly. And so it was like, I still want to play video games. Like, just to be real, I almost don't get any time to play video games. And then what I do, because I'm messed up in the head, oftentimes what I like to do is have a video game running on my machine just so I can minimize it and know I can go play it at any time, and then I just work. But it's just like the idea. It's more the idea that I could do it at any time. And sometimes I will. Like, I'll say, okay, I'm exhausted from working. I just did an 8-hour, 10-hour stint. I'm going to play video games. And so I'll bring up Enshrouded or Path of Exile or something. And then I'll play it for like 30 minutes. And then I'll feel guilty and say, okay, I need to get back to work. But having it work on the operating system that I'm on is helpful. But truthfully, now that I have a Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck is so legit, I don't even know if I need that on my core operating system, because mostly I'm just doing power user stuff, right? Like, one of the biggest things is the post-production, cranking out 4K video. Like, for example, the last stream, that 10-hour stream, the post-production of just converting it up to really high quality on this box, on this Lambda box, this is like a 10,000, $15,000 server grade desktop. It took 6 hours with the CPUs throttled, GPUs throttled to the max. That's a long time of having the machine like fully locked. So when I say like and then when I start to do like really intense machine learning stuff and I do it locally, like I'm actually trying to do fine tuning on a small language model, or I'm trying to train future iterations of diff, like do actual model enhancement stuff, and I'm working with massive amounts of data. I'm talking about terabytes of data. It's, yeah. Anyway, so it's good to know that Linux is doing things like OBS. I'll definitely look at installing Ubuntu, maybe sometime this month when I get a few cycles.
Because of Hollywood economics, that Hollywood works with whatever, like a few hundred personalities, not 100,000 personalities.
Oh
wow!
So,
I guess we will table the rest of that part of the analysis for a future episode. I think this is probably
because Dark. What we're starting to do now is fuse diff models with small language models. In fact, some of the bigger players we're working with, they want to fuse diff with their large language models. I can't mention the names of them, but there's not many people that are building large language models, but you know who they are. But I really think SLMs are the future, and even still doing fine tuning with SLMs or training SLMs from scratch. I used to do this. I used to do the full training of the neural networks when it was possible and when they didn't have, billions of parameters or trillions. Anyway, we should definitely chat about this, because if you have a way to get GPU access super cheap, yeah, that could be really helpful. Awesome. Love it. This the beauty of GTT and the things that happen. This is the real goal of GTT. It's basically just me being super selfish to eventually, I suspect that eventually people like you, Dark, and like Untranslatable Metaphor and the rest of the hardcore Jeters, is they would eventually find me. I just need to broadcast a signal that's wide enough and loud enough in enough perpetuity that then the other like-minded nerds would be like, huh, okay, this guy's legit nerd. We should chat. Oh, wow. Okay. Now we're talking. Okay. You're sitting on something that is really amazing. We definitely need to talk. By the way, I'm on Signal. Yeah, this is seriously nerd to the max. I'm on Signal, and I'll give you my Signal username. I won't do it on the stream just because I do have a couple detractors out there and I don't want them to know. But on Discord, we'll chat it up, and we should get on Signal and talk. Okay. Almost done. Let's finish the last 2 minutes and wrap up this crazy awesome stream. Yeah, it's way better to be. I gotta tell you guys some stories about this one detractor. Like, this person is, whew. I mean, doing Notica for 20 plus years, I've got a lot of people that really, really are not happy with me, but this person has kind of like made it their life goal. Not even really like for any reason. It's not like I did. I mean, in their head, I guess I don't know. It's the parasocial stuff, It's sometimes people go really off the deep end.
A good place to stop, though. Demetri, thank you so much for being here. That was That was very good. I loved that entire thing.
Yeah.
I really
Just a
appreciate
small-
you sharing
you just have to
all of your
know
sort
that it's
of
gonna happen.
insider experience with
I
us.
know
because,
it's going to happen.
like I said, I don't work with this stuff, so it's I can only kind of look from the outside, and it's just very helpful to have somebody who's thinks about this stuff every day and has to work with it every day and can give it sort of a reasonably objective opinion. I feel like you're very good at that.
I try.
So thank you very much.
Just as a closing thought, I think about this every day, not just because it's my job, but because like, people I know and love will be affected by this. And
Yeah. I think it's true for everybody.
yeah, it's true for all of us. And I want to know what's going to happen for my kids in 15 years, what's going to happen for my nieces and nephews in 5 years, for the junior people I'm mentoring now. I want to be part of finding some way forward for those people. And right now there are not good answers, and even more worrying, there are too few people who seem to care to try.
That's a very good way to say that. Very good way to say that.
That's a really
All right.
nice way.
Well, thank
of
you
saying
very
it.
much, and hopefully we can do this again very soon.
No, my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Wading Through AI. As always, I'd like to thank Demetri Spanos for taking time out of his schedule doing AI research and development to come share the insider perspective with us. And to that end, he is a consultant in that field. If you have business inquiries for him, you can always find him at demetrispanos.com.
Cool.
If you have questions
We'll hit
about
him
this
up.
series or want to check out some of the other series that I produce, you can find those on computerenhance.com, and I'd love to see you there. That's it for this week. Until next time, have fun wading through AI yourself, and Demetri and I will see you out there on the internet.
Awesome. So, absolutely love these guys. This is, I think the main guy is Casey, I think, and Demetri, and so we're through episode 1. Let's actually just take a quick peek. This is Molly Rocket, I guess, is their channel, and so we've got episode 1. I'm subbed. I definitely recommend everybody sub these guys. Let's give them some love and support, and maybe even drop in their channel that I'll drop the links of these 2 videos so their viewers can watch for their hardcore people, they can watch this. This is going to be a total now of 10 hours of streaming just for this first 2-hour video, which is, pretty typical for GTT. I'm pretty long-winded, and it looks like there's just this one episode that's available right now, but we'll be keeping an eye on them. And I also want to give a shout out to one of the original folks from GTT that brought us here. He posted it on one of these videos. Maybe it's this one? Somehow. Okay, hold on. I would really like to find him just to give him a live approaches 0. A live thanks. Yeah, he's in here somewhere. But to whoever that GTT tier was, did we just look at this one? Hold on, maybe. Yeah, let's look at this one.
Recall?
By the way, just as an aside, I don't know, like for my videos, I fully expect that people are not gonna like the content 100%, and I actually like when people that watch GTT downvote my videos. And the reason why I like that is I know that sometimes I'm going to miss the mark. Sometimes I come in a little bit too heavy-handed, or my view is too narrow, right? And so I don't expect ever that I'll get like 100% likes on my videos. In fact, if I did that, I would think something's wrong. There's some videos that I'll get like 100% everybody agrees with me, and then I think something's fishy here. Like I should be getting downvoted. Anyway, the reason why I mention this is that generally speaking, what I see on GTT is I get approximately between 70 and 80% positive votes, which is just the band that I generally see. For this video in particular, just this one, it's 50-50. There are 50%, so it's only been liked 15 times, but it's been disliked equally that many times. So this is a small number. Like it should be in the hundreds or something to get an actual gauge. But I wanted to share this because one, I think it's awesome. I must have said I do come in pretty hard on MySQL, and I suspect it's probably a lot of MySQL people. Maybe I come in on Next.js because I think I bash on both of these repos as the code's not that good, according to Mentor. And like again, I'm gonna just tell you what I am seeing and what is true, right? And I don't mean this in like I'm the knower of all things. I mean it in the sense of like I'm looking at the code, right? This is one of the things where it's really useful. Yeah. It's for sure, right? If you see some of the trash talking that happens on like some of the clips, I think that it is yeah, I actually think that's partially part of it. Is I think in this video I was talking some trash about JavaScript, and I love JavaScript, right? I think that it's, you know, the majority of code in the world, JavaScript is the most used programming language in the world, to my knowledge. And I think that's awesome, right? But I think that has a lot more to do with JavaScript filling a very important hole that wasn't filled before, and that is supporting web-based applications from the front end, and in a way that is actually scalable, not some of the historical ways that like PHP. I loved PHP. I've actually written real code, production quality code in PHP. The problem is PHP doesn't really scale. Like it's designed, the language design itself in terms of pragmatic concerns is it puts too much pressure on the server. So then when you scale out the web service, then unless you have a massive data center on the back end, you just overload the server. And JavaScript offloads a lot of the work to the client, which is brilliant, right? So the actual system design of JavaScript is fantastic. Now, that doesn't mean, yeah, 100%. Like PHP is like, man, it's like C++ except for browsers. You have classes and stuff, and it's sort of like in some ways a real language. And JavaScript, I think, like, man, I have some major problems with the language design aspect of JavaScript. But I understand that the architectural design of separation and offloading the compute to the clients and minimizing the load to the server, that's brilliant. But that has nothing to do with the actual language design, the way that you interface with it, right? I mean, it has a little bit, you know, with things like React, but the parts that I pick on in this particular, yeah, Colin, we just decided to just hop on to finish the VOD. And so I was like, what the hell? I've got a couple hours, and my sleeping schedule is totally, you know, I'm out of my mind. And so I slept earlier today, making up for my 3 hours of sleep the night before. And then I was like, I want to finish this video and I want to be streaming more. So I'm just going to start streaming at random times whenever I feel like it. And then I'll just upload those. And so we'll have more VODs and we'll just be streaming just constantly. Like I was mentioning this last weekend. Like, truthfully, my heart has really been set on streaming from day one. I just needed to get the right base and I needed to get stuff in place. And now the stuff is kind of like mostly in place. So the future is here. Anyway, so then Dark showed up about an hour into it, and he and I have been nerding out like crazy. So much so that I think we scared off many of the other people, because as soon as Dark showed up, like the nerd out factor, I think, increased 10x. And I love it, right? Like this is really what we're doing on GTT, is this kind of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I think I came out swinging a little too much, but the truth is, like, I think that JavaScript made some fundamental major problems in the early design, and like, I'm not going to pretend like you got that part right, because I don't think that that's true. And I think anybody that's being intellectually honest knows that when you create variables, right, like, the predominant way of creating variables is using the word var and this other thing of let, and this, like, the scoping behavior and the differences between var and let are, like, in my mind, fundamentally broken. At least with me programming in 30 other programming languages, where pretty much all of them do it this other way. And so if that hurts the JavaScript kiddies' feelings because I'm trying to, like, speak truth to power, like, I don't know what to tell you, right? That's why I will rant about it, because it cost me a serious amount of time when I didn't know this silliness that is unique to JavaScript when everybody else is doing it this other way. Like, these types of things, I don't know why you would intentionally break the known and reinforced idiomatic behaviors unless you just didn't know. And so maybe they didn't know, but I want to say, yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. Like, the other thing is, maybe I talk about the double equals and triple equals in this video, is I talk about how the reason why the triple equals doesn't exist in these other programming languages is these other programming languages were designed correctly and JavaScript wasn't, right? And so they figured out later on that, oh shoot, we need this triple equals thing because checking on the type would be important. And now basically almost everybody uses the triple equals. I think that's what I'm talking about right here. It's like, these are all triple equals because everybody knows the triple equals. But guess what? Maybe the double equals should have just been designed that way. And that, like, you get the triple equals when you want it to be more lazy. So, like, for example, why do you make the common path, like, being serious, right? Just purely from a scientific perspective, spoken as a true technologist, why do you make the common path harder than the non-common path? That seems backwards to me. I think that the thing that you do the most should be the thing that is easiest. And what I mean by that is typing 3 characters versus typing 2 characters doesn't make sense to me. Right? It's like part of the reason why I type in Dvorak. Right? I type with this type of thing because Dvorak fixes the common path. It's optimized for the common path. It's not, and QWERTY is designed to be split and wireless. And if you guys, even if you don't type in Dvorak, if you're in QWERTY, like, secretly, I'm judging you a little bit, but not really, right? Like, all of us were brainwashed to type the wrong way from kids. And some of us decided to put in the work to, like, fix the brainwashing and do it the right way. And some of us just decided to, like, it's too much effort. So there's no judgment. It's just, I'm just going to type way faster than you. And I'm not going to have carpal tunnel. And the truth is, I type, Touche. Touche, my friend. Yeah, I was actually I was chatting with, yeah, I think someone was getting upset with me because I decided to do a stream tonight rather than something else. Anyway, the point of this is that even if you don't type in Dvorak, I strongly recommend, if you're looking for a rock solid wireless keyboard that's split, check out Kinesis. These guys are the bomb. Yeah, this was the struggle I was dealing with tonight. But these guys, Kinesis keyboards, these are like, let's see here. Yeah, here we go. So this is the one that I had before, right? Where it was this, and by the way, typing in this like split embedded way, at first, at least for me, was a bit whoa, what is this, guys? What is this? Woo-hoo. Okay. So this might be, yeah, they are a little bit expensive. I want to be clear. This is not awesome. It's if you don't have a lot of spare change rolling around, it's not, may not be a very fiscally viable solution. But I will say that they do a couple things. One, I think the split part is really good naturally, since our hands kind of go like this. They don't kind of go like this. This is very hard for us to do, right? And then the latest ones is they're split and they're separated and they're wireless, right? Yeah, it's really good for your shoulders. It's especially good for me after the surgery, because I live at my computer, just like probably you guys do. Maybe not as crazy as I am, but close to that. So yeah, check these guys out, Kinesis. I'm not sponsored by Kinesis, at least not yet. I'm just saying this because, for real, I've been using their keyboards for over a decade, and they do have some weird Bluetooth problems, but that's mostly like Windows. At least that's been my experience on it. Yeah, so yeah, you'll end up being a split keyboard Dvorak C++ programmer using diff with language models and moving out to NorCal, right? Like all of these things. Okay, guys, so I think that we mostly are a wrap for tonight. We got through it. We should figure out what we're going to talk about in the next stream. I really like doing these reaction videos to, yeah, it's a good life. The only problem about NorCal Dark is it's just so expensive here. It's just absurd. But I teach at the uni, and I plan to teach at this uni for forever. So I kind of need to be here. If it wasn't for that, I'd probably live in some state that didn't have income tax, was a lot less expensive, and then I could just do all the virtual stuff. But at least until the uni that I teach at right now, they decide that they don't want me anymore. Knock on wood, they don't decide to kick me out, because it took forever to be able to get them to open up the doors. And I think what's interesting is I think they know about GTT, and I think they're okay with it. Because truthfully, like, GTT probably matters more to me than teaching at that uni, even though I really and not for a pedigree, just to be clear, it's not a pedigree thing. It's more about the signal is that it's a big university, and the signal that I get, like, for example, one of my former students, actually several of my former students are creating their own companies, and I'm helping them with figuring out all the how to wrangle with the VCs and stuff. And so the signal that I get is I get to work with a lot of brilliant minds, and that's what I really care about, right? Ultimately, I just want to be surrounded by other like-minded lunatics that just want to do stuff. And we want to talk about technology, we want to talk about science, we want to just have real conversations and know that we're all trying to make the world a better place. And that's basically what my life is. That's what I'm going to do for the remainder of my life. Is I have lived long enough where I didn't have this capability, and it wasn't nearly as good. Like, in some sense, it was much easier. But I gotta tell you, there was one job I had where there's this saying, right, that you never want to be the smartest person in the room. Let me show you something, guys. Show you something real quick before we adjourn. I want to. How do I put this thing in here? Okay. Okay. So every year I teach, I have these life lesson things, like just how to be awesome in real life, irrespective of what you decide to do. You want to be a scientist, you want to be an engineer, you want to be whatever, like who cares? Whatever domain you're gonna be in, what can you do to just become a really good person? And the feedback that I got is the students love this section. They love it so much, I actually changed the curriculum, so I'll do 5 or 10 minutes on general guidance for life in every lecture, because I was just having just the last lecture be about it. That's how it was in 2023 and 2022, but they were like, it wasn't enough time. So anyway, in this somewhere, I talk about and by the way, these slides are publicly available. So yeah. Absolutely. Say the quiet stuff out loud. I think that's a great one. I don't think I have that in here, but this is something I live by now. Like this one. I like this one quite a bit. It's similar to listen more than you speak, read more than you write. And this is one of those rare opportunities where you can actually use this highly obscure mathematical operator of much greater than, which for the most part has almost no pragmatic value. Like in almost all other cases in the real world, this is a completely worthless mathematical operator, at least in my opinion, because it's ambiguous, right? And by the way, this is a real mathematical operator. Yeah, work smart and then hard. Yeah, where is that? Is that on? Yeah, work smart and then hard. This is so important, so important. Like I meet a lot of people that they're just like, work hard. If you just take a small amount of time, doesn't even have to be much, just a small amount of time to first figure out exactly what it is you're going to do, and then do it. I find that you can save it could be like a 10x improvement on your productivity, because you're doing a small amount of planning. And I often try to do like the work smart and then hard. There's some sort of it's proportional to the length of the task. So if the task is going to be like an hour task, then maybe I'll spend 2 minutes thinking about it before doing it. But if the task is going to be like a 10-day task, then maybe I'll spend half a day thinking about it and then doing it. So it's proportional to how intense it is. If it's a 3-year task, then maybe I'm going to spend a month. But if you don't do this, at least my experience has been, if you don't do the smart stuff first, oh my gosh, like, there is a direct reference that I could make to what's happening in the world right now about how certain things I think are being done without a deep amount of thought and sophistication going into thinking before actually doing. But I won't mention that. Oh, here it is. This is the one. This is the one that I was trying to find. Don't ever be the smartest person in the room. Do not ever, if you ever find yourself in a room where you are the smartest person in the room, you need to find a new room. And what's really interesting, at least from my perspective, is I think for people with really, really low self-esteem, they often want to be the smartest person in the room. And I think it hurts them significantly, because people that are smarter than you, or they know more than you, or whatever, if you could just get over your insecurity, those people will make you better, right? As long as they're good actors. And from my perspective, you know, I try to follow the philosophy of like, people often want to help other people, that they don't innately, I mean, there are some sociopaths out there for sure, but I think for the most part, people are wired for the most part to help other people. And so if they see that they can help you in some capacity, then the tendency, I think, will maybe lean toward being helpful rather than hurtful. Anyway, we're talking about this whole being in NorCal and teaching at this uni that I teach at. I want to share, there was a time before I got here in NorCal where I was surrounded by all these people that are smarter than me. And I remember there was this one meeting I was in, and I was the smartest person in the room. And it was terrible. It was so bad. It was like this moment that I think this is the moment that I realized how true, and how, especially if you have a growth mindset. Like if you're a narcissist or you have really low self-esteem, being the smartest person in the room, I think, you know, just don't be that way. Just try not to. Or if you have self-esteem issues, like just try to work and build confidence through evidence, not through hiding. At least this is, you know, and it's far easier to say than do. I understand that. There was a point in my life where I was very insecure and I had really low self-esteem. And so I understand it's a process, right? I'm not trying to be dismissive of this, but I do think that when you get to the point to where you really want to have growth and you really want to do incredible things, it's critical that you're not in rooms like this. And that's why I teach at the uni that I teach at. That's why I do GTT, and I do GTT the way that I do it is I want people like you, Dark. I want people like Untranslatable Metaphor and Cyber and Colin and others that are just like brilliant people that know things that are different than what I know, and then we all level each other up. Like it's interesting because in some sense, if I'm being like totally transparent and honest, a large part of doing GTT is very selfish. Like it's super selfish. Is I wasn't getting enough access to brilliant people, even with me being at NorCal and teaching where I teach and doing all this stuff. I wanted more geniuses around me that could level me up. And so I was like, I just need to broadcast a bigger signal and get those people. And so this is going full circle into why I do kind of the things that I do, why I teach at that uni, why I do GTT, why I run Merly. And it's mostly just to connect with other like-minded people that want to do crazy stuff and that are really like truthfully wired this way. They're not pretending. Like, for example, Dark, I can tell that you are really wired this way because you just like, you show up and you're like, let's just throw down. Let's just start talking about this stuff. You're not trying to pretend to be somebody. You know too much to be a faker, right? Just the broadness and depth of your knowledge is not pretend. You don't know things superficially. You can get super deep on things that are very tangential in a variety of different ways. This demonstrates to me that you're the type of person that you've been digging deep in your pursuit of knowledge and curiosity for decades. It's unlikely. This is just the stuff that I'm able to intuit from having short conversations with you. It's super unlikely that you can possibly have the broadness and the depth of the knowledge that you have that is just off the tip of your tongue without a massive dedication to this type of thing for a prolonged period of time. And I know that you're not using an AI. I know what the AI stuff looks like. There's at least a window where there's going to be delay and 100%. Like, it's just the types of things that I spent a lot of time studying human nature. Like, my ex-wife, she's world-renowned sociologist. And so there's certain signals that I can quickly get from interacting with people on like who they really are. And anyway, we love having you here, brother. It's good stuff. Okay. Jeters, I think that's it for tonight. Thanks everybody for dialing in. We broke 2.5 hours. It was super awesome. And I can't do the shallow superficial. It's just you're absolutely. By the way, Dark, you're on the Discord now. Yeah, have you over there? Okay. Awesome. All right, folks. So thanks so much. We're a wrap for tonight, and expect more impromptu. But I do think I'm going to start trying to stream at a regular time. I think what I'm planning on doing a regular time every Saturday at starting around noon Pacific time, and then we will just go on. P.S. What's going on, buddy? Yeah. The crew is showing up now. Everybody's like, oh, awesome, sweet. Yeah. P.S. You got us right as we were wrapping, and so, oh, no worries. Yeah. By the way, what? Just out of curiosity, P.S. I think I know where you are, but Dark, that's noon, so that's 6 a.m. for you. So, oh right, you're in Australia. Wait, is that right? Is Australia? Brisbane. Oh my gosh, bro, I love Brisbane. Okay, admittedly, I've only been to Brisbane once, but I spent like 2 weeks in Australia. I spent 1 week in Brisbane, and I spent another week in it's like Melbourne. Yeah. And everybody was telling me Melbourne is the place to be and stuff, but I gotta be honest with you, I liked Brisbane way more than Melbourne. Like, I get that if you want to live the city life, right? And yeah, no, P.S. It's awesome to have you, and have fun on your spiritual retreat. That sounds awesome. You do that. We're gonna have it'll all. What I'm gonna do tonight after I wrap this is I'm gonna convert this to the high quality and then push it out as a recording. So if you missed the stream, you obviously won't be able to interact, which is the big part of the fun, I think, on the streams. But you'll be able to at least kind of see all the madness. But yeah, so no disrespect to Melbourne. I thought it was cool, but I loved Brisbane. Like, one of the things that I did is, you guys have there's this river, right, out of Brisbane. It's like the Snake River. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like the Snake River. Anyway, every morning I would wake up and I'd go run this. This is when I was running marathons, and I'd do like a 5-10 mile run every morning on that Snake River, whatever that is. Dark, do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, I suspect since you live in Brisbane. Anyway, Brisbane's amazing. So for any of you guys who haven't been there, and you're going to visit Australia, the three main places that I went to is, I went to Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. And yeah, Sydney's obviously amazing. Didn't get a chance to go to like the Sydney Opera House, but I think I saw it and I was like, yeah, okay, that's legitimately amazing. And then I spent a week in Brisbane, and then I spent a week in Melbourne. And I actually have a photo somewhere where I was at one of the koala sanctuaries. I have no idea where it was. We took some bus to get there from Melbourne. It was like a hour bus ride or something. I can't, the details are a little fuzzy. Anyway, I've got this koala, and let me tell you, those koalas, well, you know, I think the koalas are like high on drugs all day, because like the eucalyptus leaves they're basically just major drug addicts, right? Or something like this. But those dudes have some serious claws, man. I mean, yeah. You definitely want them to be like in a drug-induced state, because if they're, yeah. Yeah, if they had all their energy on, like, because I just remember, like, I just had a t-shirt on and one of its claws was coming out. I was like, this dude could just like legitimately tear me apart, man. Anyway, you guys rock. Thanks for the amazing stream. P.S. Thanks for coming and say hi. And then, yes, noon Pacific time is probably around the time that we'll start on Saturdays. And then I'll continue to do these impromptus. I'll drop them on the Discord, and maybe I'll try to drop little messages here and there. But just expect that we're going to be doing streams a lot more. And the big thing you guys can help me with is give me more stuff that we can react to. Like more of these stuff that we think is going to be really interesting, where we can do a deep take on it together, and like we can get into the weeds, similar to stuff like that we looked at with Jonathan Blow's stuff. I forget the name of the guy that did. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, Mike Acton and the data-oriented design stuff. That was pretty cool. Yeah, that's what we should do. We should create a sub-channel for just new content that we should talk about. So, All right, my brothers and sisters. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. We'll talk soon.